Wonder Woman 1984 is once again directed by Patty Jenkins and stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Pedro Pascal, and Kristen Wiig, and is the follow-up to the very successful first film simply titled Wonder Woman. So if you follow me on my Instagram, which by the way if you don't, all my social media links are down in the description box below, feel free to follow me on those if you are interested. But I posted last night that movie theaters in my area finally reopened again. They had to close sometime in November because of numbers spiking up, but they finally reopened recently, and I went to go see a movie last night, and that movie ended up being Wonder Woman 1984, which I didn't get a chance to see when it first came out because I don't have HBO Max. I honestly don't plan on getting HBO Max because I think $15 a month is a little too expensive, but that's just my opinion. You guys do you. But I said to myself, I gotta go see Wonder Woman 1984 because I'm a huge fan of the first movie. If you go back and watch my original review back when it came out, I really praised it because I thought it was a damn good comic book movie and a really great Wonder Woman movie. And naturally, I bought the first movie on Blu-ray back when it came out, and despite already having it on Blu-ray, I asked for the 4K for Christmas a couple years ago simply because I really like this movie. I've seen it a couple times since theaters, and I still really enjoy it, despite most people coming out and mentioning that they don't like the movie as much. I'm still one of the people that still really defends it, still has a great time every time I watch it. So, naturally, of course, I was super excited for Wonder Woman 1984. I was really happy and excited to see Gal Gadot coming back as Wonder Woman. I was happy and excited to see Patty Jenkins was still going to be directing it. And even though I was confused on why Steve Trevor was in this movie because, spoiler alert, he died in the first movie, I was still excited to see him in the movie and to see how they were going to explain why he's even in the movie. Nevertheless, you guys get it. My anticipation for this movie was at top level. So the fact that I left the theater really disappointed and thinking this is one of the most disappointing sequels, at least in recent memory, that I've ever seen, I was pretty upset leaving the theater last night. Now, even though I was disappointed with this movie, I don't think this is one of the worst comic book movies ever made. I honestly don't. I've seen much worse comic book movies. It's just a massively disappointing sequel that, number one, a lot of times doesn't really make any sense. Number two, doesn't even feel like it's a proper sequel to the first movie. And number three, is pretty lazily written. I'm just going to get this out of the way. My biggest problem with the movie is the script. The script, I think, is really bad for this movie. I've heard some people say they don't mind what happens in the movie. That's fine, but to me, it felt lazily written and poorly thought of. And that's also due to the fact that this movie is pretty nuts. There's so much suspension of disbelief that you have to do with this movie that halfway through I was thinking to myself, what is even going on anymore? Like, it wasn't hard to follow, but I had to piece certain things together to make sure I was understanding them pretty straightforward, and I kind of was, but this movie's a mess. There were so many messy parts in this movie that a lot of times it pulled my interest out, and a lot of times I was pretty bored throughout this movie. For me, the best part of this movie is Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman and Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. They still work really great together. How Steve Trevor comes back, I'm not going to mention because it's spoiler territory, but I will say I thought was pretty dumb. Once I pushed aside how dumb I thought he came back was, I was mainly curious to see, like, is Gal Gadot and Chris Pine still going to have this great chemistry that they had in the first movie? And they really do for the most part. They are so cute together. They are so funny together. I just want to see... Honestly, I wish this movie was just the two of them. Just the two of them, figure out a different way to bring back Steve Trevor, and just have the movie just focus on these two characters, because they were the best part of the movie, in my opinion. I also didn't mind Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord in this movie. He was kind of over the top, and very, very comic booky. And some people might be turned off by that. In fact, some people were really turned off by that. I was a little bit too, but I was able to just accept his over-the-top, well, kind of over-the-top performance and just accept the fact that he is just chewing the scenery in this movie. He is chewing the scenery on a gold platter with gold and silverware, just enjoying himself. And I wouldn't mind him coming back in a future DC project as Maxwell Lord. Just give him a better script. Now, this isn't a spoiler, but Kristen Wiig plays the cheetah in this movie. And she was pretty bad in the movie. I'm not going to lie. I like Kristen Wiig. I've seen her in a few other things. I think she could be very funny, and I think she's a likable actress. She just doesn't have anything good to work with in this movie. Her character honestly reminds me of Jim Carrey as the Riddler. And I was afraid of that when I saw the trailers. I thought to myself, well, they can't go that route again. They did it once with Batman Forever. They did it once with Iron Man 3. I think Hollywood has caught on that those type of characters, especially in comic book movies, just didn't work in the past. So I don't think they're going to go that route, even though the trailers really made it seem like they were. And I was baffled that they were going in that direction. If you don't know what type of character I'm talking about, let me give you the Cliff Notes version. She is a character that is jealous of Diana Prince. She's a loser, no one pays attention to her. She wishes she can be more popular, more outgoing, not so shy. So, again, no spoilers, but something happens, and she eventually becomes this type of person, and she's all full of herself and becomes really annoying. We've seen this before in Batman Forever and Iron Man 3. It didn't work then, and it doesn't work now. I get that we as a human race have all looked at someone and has been jealous of someone, wishing we can be that someone. That's fine. That's what they're trying to show in this movie. They're trying to show some sort of relatability with making a character like this. But it just didn't work. I thought Hollywood learned their lesson with those first two movies, with Iron Man 3 and Batman Forever. It didn't work, and it doesn't work in this movie. Not to mention that all of her comedic timing just falls completely flat. She is meant to be the comic relief of this movie. At least that's the vibe I got from her. And she's not funny. She's not relatable. I didn't really like her character. And I don't know if you're going to consider this a spoiler, but I guess I'll give a slight spoiler warning because it was in the trailer that she does turn into the cheetah. Did I miss something? Because she wasn't the cheetah throughout the whole movie, especially the third act. And then just out of nowhere, the big third act, like, fight scene or whatever you would call it. It's not really a fight scene, but the big third act, like, ending the movie type thing. She just appears out of nowhere as the cheetah. And I literally thought to myself, did I miss something? Did I not piece something together? Because literally out of nowhere, she comes out as the cheetah to fight Wonder Woman. And that whole scene that we saw in the trailer, if you thought it looked bad in the trailer, it looks worse in the movie. Because not just this scene, but all the action in this movie feels so terribly filmed, so terribly edited. I don't know what happened with the actions in this movie. All the action in the first movie was exciting and fun and at times inspiring. They stuck with you because of those. Nothing stuck with me with the action in this movie. It felt incredibly lazy and poorly filmed and edited. And that was a big, big letdown for me because if you know me personally, you know I love action movies. Which is why I love comic book movies, because most comic book movies are action movies. And the action just really let me down. Here's how the entire movie felt for me while I was watching it. The beginning of the movie with young Diana, we saw that in the trailer, don't worry, that's not a spoiler. I thought was alright, again, poorly filmed action, but I thought it was alright, it was enjoyable. And then we cut forward to 1984, and that was, again, enjoyable, though poorly filmed and edited. But then the film slows down, and it becomes really boring for most of the rest of the first act and all of the second act. And the third act picks up, and it's just balls to the walls insanity with the insanity that was brought in the second act. And it just lost my interest in somewhere in between that. I was bored for most of the second act, but still paying attention to the absurdity that was going on and the absurdity that eventually would go into the third act. But by the time the third act happened, I honestly just didn't care. I just didn't care. I didn't care who was fighting who. I didn't care what was going to happen to the characters in the end, which, by the way, with Maxwell Lord and the cheetah, there's no consequences for what they did in this movie. There's absolutely nothing. Once they're done with their fight scene or final confrontation, we never see them again. They're not even shown in an end credit or mid-credit scene, which, by the way, I'm going to mention the mid-credit scene. So if you don't want to know what happens in the mid-credit scene, cut to this time slot. That's your warning. So there is one mid-credit scene, and it was meant to be played as kind of a wink and nod and kind of chuckle, but in my opinion just came off as last minute and kind of desperate. Linda Carter shows up in this movie, in the mid-credit scene. And she saves someone, and this woman looks at her and says something like, "How did you do that?" Or something along those lines. I got to be honest, I was barely paying attention at this point. And she turns around, and it's Linda Carter, and she says something like, "Oh, I've been doing this for a long time." And then she says something else, and I can't remember. Then she looks at the camera, winks, turns around, and walks away. And then the credits start again, and it says, "And also appearing, Linda Carter," as whatever character her name was. I don't remember. It felt so lazy and chopped in at the last minute. And I can't believe that that's what they decided to do for a mid-credit scene. I know there had been rumors and speculations that Linda Carter was going to come back as Wonder Woman for the Flash movie, and if that's what they were trying to set up with this, okay, fine, it just didn't work. But if they weren't trying to set this up, then this is a pretty lazy and pretty stupid mid-credit scene. It is literally, if it's not to set up her in the Flash movie, then it is literally just there to say, "Look, Linda Carter's in the movie. Look, Linda Carter's in the movie. Look, look. Give us your money." It just felt really lazy, just like most of this movie did. So guys, in the end, God, was I let down with this movie. When I first left the theater, I was disappointed, but I thought to myself, that was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. But then the more I thought about it once I got home, the more questions got raised for me, the more the plot didn't make sense, and the more I was just angry because, like I said, I loved the first movie. I honestly do. And the fact that they followed it up with this movie, it was kind of a slap in the face to anyone who did really love the first Wonder Woman movie. But with that being said, I know some people are enjoying this movie, and they're not paying attention to what people who didn't like it are saying, and that's fine if you liked it. If you like this movie and you don't see the flaws that I brought up, that is perfectly fine. It's just, in my opinion, this is my full opinion, this felt like a slap in the face to anyone who really loved the first movie. And it honestly pains me to say this, but Wonder Woman 1984 is a major letdown. I wanted this to be good. I had heard some stuff that some people were saying about it, so I didn't set myself up for high expectations. I just set myself for standard expectations. Just expect anything to happen, just like I do with most movies I go see. So yeah, I wasn't setting myself up to be disappointed with high expectations. I just wanted to like the movie. If I always say to myself, if I find something of value that I do like about the movie, then the movie's not a complete failure in my eyes. But honestly, there wasn't really much in this that I did really like. Just seeing Gal Gadot and Chris Pine and Pedro Pascal. He was pretty entertaining. That was pretty much it. None of the action stood out for me. No scenes really grabbed my interest, and most of the movie was pretty boring. So guys, that concludes my review for Wonder Woman 1984, and just like always, let me know down in the comment section what you guys thought of the movie. Did you end up liking the movie, or did you not end up liking the movie? Whatever your thoughts on everything is in this movie, let me know down in the comment section. And just like I mentioned earlier in the video, feel free to follow me on all my social media accounts. They are down in the description box. I keep forgetting to mention those in every video. I've been meaning to, but I keep forgetting to. It's a good way to keep up on me on what my next videos are going to be, my preparations for videos, what I'm doing movie related outside of YouTube. So if you're interested in following me on my social media accounts, again, they are down in the description box. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and share this video if you did like this video. Subscribe right here if you haven't already. And I will see you all next time.